Fun fact, the National Martin Luther King Jr. National Day of Service was started by former Pennsylvania U.S. Senator Harris Wofford and Atlanta Congressman John Lewis. They co-authored the King Holiday and Service Act. I did not know of the Pennsylvania link to that. So the federal legislation challenged Americans to transform the King Holiday into a day of citizen action, volunteer service in honor of Dr. King. And so the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. gave his iconic I Have a Dream speech in 1963 on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. He chose that location in part to honor President Abraham Lincoln as a great American in whose symbolic shadow we stand today. Dr. King was, of course, a prominent advocate for nonviolent resistance against racial segregation and discrimination. His leadership during significant events such as the Montgomery bus boycott and the March on Washington helped secure landmark legislation, including the Civil Rights Act of '64 and the Voting Rights Act of '65. Often overlooked in his work is the Poor People's Campaign. That effort was to gain economic justice for poor and working people in this country. So let's honor Dr. King by focusing on his work during the thing I want to focus in on in these comments today is the Montgomery bus boycott. And I want to do so by commemorating one of his contemporaries, a lady who sparked the bus boycott. And you're probably assuming I'm going to say Rosa Parks, but her name is Claudette Colvin. So Claudette Colvin, March 2nd of 1955, which is 9 months before Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on that bus, same year, just 9 months earlier. Claudette Colvin, she was 15 years old, and she was arrested for not giving up her seat to a white woman on a bus in Montgomery. And I listened to an interview with her when she was much older, and what she said is, I paid my bus fare same as anybody else on that bus. And I had recently learned things about American history at my school, including Sojourner Truth's work and Harriet Tubman's work. And what she said is, I felt as though when I was sitting there on that bus, each of them had a hand on each of my shoulders, and they would not let me get up. And this is a 15-year-old exhibiting this kind of courage. So while Rosa Parks' work is much more well-known and was just as courageous, something about a 15-year-old doing this really, really caught my attention. Ms. Colvin was one of 4 plaintiffs in Browden versus Gale, the case challenging bus segregation in Montgomery. And that case in June of '56, the federal district court ruled bus segregation unconstitutional. It was appealed up to the US Supreme Court, and November of '56, the Supreme Court affirmed the lower court's ruling, overturning Plessy versus Ferguson. Ms. Colvin died just 2 days ago. And I think she definitely should be remembered. And her work helped Dr. King with his work. It took a whole lot of people to make things happen. So as we honor Dr. King, let's also honor Claudette Colvin and the role that she played in his work. So MLK Day is recognized as a national day of service, encouraging individuals and organizations to engage in volunteer activities that provide community service and work towards social justice. And the initiative reflects Dr. King's belief in the power of collective action to foster change. So, with our first meeting of 2026, this commission, we honor Dr. King and his legacy and reflect on our roles as PUC employees, as public servants, and we consider the work of the commission, how it aligns with the principles of civic duty, encourage active engagement in community service, and reinforces the social and moral purpose of our day-to-day work. So, like many public servants, believe that we have a deep sense of responsibility to the community that we work in, the communities across this Commonwealth. And the way that we do it is we make sure that our citizens stay safe, and we try our hardest to make sure that these citizens of the Commonwealth can afford their utility bills. So thank you for listening, and happy King Day on Monday.